Okay, been working on this bad boy. You guys probably saw the first video I put up on this thing. And so just working on the wiring. Again, I'm using this kind of a SO cord here. And I've got it wired into the 3-pole. I guess that's a contactor. Honestly, I don't really know. And you see the ground lug there. So that's all set up. And then over here, I had this... like I said, there was a 60 amp connector plug in here when I had the plasma table over here, and obviously the 6 gauge wire won't fit in a 30 amp. So I put little pigtails and wire nuts on the wires and had all that jammed into the box. But now I've got the new end on, and I've just got that hanging out loose because I don't have the right faceplate for it. So I got to get the right faceplate. But I think I got it all wired up there correctly. So let's see what it does. I'm going to hook the air up here to it, and we'll see what that does first. Bear with me and hang in there with the shaky cam. So I hear air in there. I don't know what that means. And you can tell this is a university machine. They've got these startup procedures. This looks like something they would put on there, but you know, basically says lower the conveyor bed to 1 inch opening, which we're at 1 foot there, I guess. I don't know what it is, but there's plenty of clearance in there, so we're not in damage of hurting anything. Install the abrasive belt. We have that. Tension the belt by moving the tension switch up. So let's do that. So right here, tension switch. And these badges looks like something a university would do. So I don't know if you can see that. Let me do that again where you can see it zoomed out. You can hear the air coming out of there. I need to take the belt off. I can hear it coming out from somewhere in there. Now I don't know if that's just the normal bleed off air, you know, that it would normally do, or what, but you can definitely hear air coming out. So I don't know if that's an issue or not. And I can see that this whole thing's kind of kicked over to the side. So I don't know. Can't really move it. So I guess so there's a center pivot in there, in the center of it, and then you turn this knob here to pivot, you know, to make that pivot back and forth like that. To get it on there. So anyway, let's see if she'll actually come on. I know we have to have the doors closed on it to make it come on. Let's see. Okay. I think we can leave this one on. Should be all right. All right, so we got conveyor pull to stop, pull to start, push to stop, and then this is the abrasive belt. So let's see what happens if we pull it on here. Hey, look at that. It's actually working. Now, the one thing I didn't tell you is there's only a 20 amp 3-phase breaker in the position where this is going to now, so we wouldn't be able to probably run much through there because I took the 60 amp breaker and put it over here for my plasma cutter, and I had an extra 20 amp when the table saw used to be here, so I just moved it. But we'll get that sorted out. Now, the one thing you might notice is I believe that conveyor is going the wrong way. because this should be the input side here. And see the small, I mean, it just looks like it should be going that way. So all that really means is I've got one of the poles reversed on the 3-phase, and you can see the wires coming in there. So I'm going to reverse 2 of those right there. We'll just probably flip the white and black, or probably the red and black. It's easier to get to, and then we'll try it again. All right, I just switched the wires, and this is that the 20 amp breaker that goes to that, and you can see how I did these big 6-gauge wires going in there. I had to split them around the screw to make them fit the small breaker. It's not meant for it. So push that back on, and let's see if our conveyor is going the right way now. All right, that's looking good, looking good. So now we need to, and I believe this door has to be closed here for it to run. Let's see if it opens, if it shuts off. No? All right. Let's see, maybe it's just a starting thing. We'll turn it off. Okay, so yeah, it is running. I want to turn it on, but the main feed sanding belt, but I don't know what to expect from it. It's kind of like, you know, sitting up here on these wheels. That's a huge motor with a lot of torque. I don't know what RPM it turns at. And I don't think the sanding head has an adjustable RPM, but this is your, you can speed the feed rate up here. Oh, it goes the opposite. So I can definitely hear it running faster by doing that. So I'm going to turn it on, and right here, I'm going to turn it on and real quick on and off and just see what happens. I already heard it hitting something over here. I don't know if it's got enough tension on there or not. It is tensioned up, and I know for a fact that this needs to go in. I need to go the other way. See if it actually see what I mean about that being cocked over that way? It almost seems like it needs to be way over this way, but I really don't know, you know. I mean, that's the thing. I don't even know what these two do. I know what this does. This allows this block to come out, and that way you can get the sandpaper off. That block keeps the sandpaper from running off the end of it. All right, let's just turn it all the way on and see what happens. I'm trying to stand back away from it. I guess we can turn this back on. Must be hitting a switch or something, because it only comes on for like a little bit. Oh, it must have hit a switch. Won't even come on now. Let's see. Yeah, see, it's walking its way over this way. All right, let me play with it some and see what we can do. All right, well, I found out what I was like. Once it went off on its own there, I couldn't get it back on, and I checked all the limit switches and everything, and it's like, what in the heck? So anyway, as soon as that big motor starts up, it yeah, you can see it tripped the breaker. That 20 amp service is not even enough really to get it running. I would think it would at least just run and idle there with no load on it, but you know, there may be some big startup load that it puts on it there or something. I don't know. But anyway, I'm pretty pleased the fact that it's at least on and running, you know, and we can figure out the rest of it. See what we can do to get it going there. What I may do, so it's Saturday night now, and I don't know if I can get a 60 amp breaker tomorrow on Sunday for that. But this is the one for the plasma cutter right here. And you can see it's 60 amp. I want to focus on that. So I could just pop those loose and pop it up there into that spot where that one is. Or tomorrow, I guess I could just work on the figuring out where I'm going to locate this thing and rearranging the stuff over here. I really want to take that trailer. I mean, that trailer and that are two big monstrosities of metal storage. And I never hardly ever do anything with this. You know, it's just like stuff that's just stacked up there, offcuts and random things. And I never do anything with it. So I don't know. It seems like a wasted space, you know, both of those. I've got sheet metal right here, and I use this a lot, you know, for the metal art stuff. But other than that, like, that's a lot of waste right there. So I'm thinking that I need to do something different with that, you know, to create some space here. Because one of the things I didn't tell you guys in the other video is I have a new lathe as well that I've purchased, and I'll talk about that more. But it's a big machine. Also, so I need to try to figure out where that's going to go. And yeah, so all right, guys. Well, at least it's progress on this one. I will come back and show you probably next week one day when I get this going, and we'll go from there. But at least, hey, you know what? It's powered on, and you know, we know it's working and all that, so that's a good thing. All right, I've done some rearranging. I really didn't do anything about this, but I need to. Gosh, what a mess. But, you know, the table saw was down there and moved it to here. And if I need to use it, I can pull this stuff out. Those are both on casters, and then just slide the table saw over and use it. And I got a long cord that I can reach up there and plug in. So, anyway, if I use this more, obviously I would leave a lot of clearance so that I could just quickly use it and do what I need to do. But seriously, I use it like 3 times a year, if that. So, and if I'm going to use it, it's usually for a project or something. And if not, I got a track saw I can use to rip stuff down with. But anyway, this is what I was going to make like some casters and stuff. So what I did was I used these extra casters I had, and temporarily clamped them on to the bottom of the base to get it off of those dollies, because the dollies, if I get it up fairly close to the wall, they don't, you know, you can't get them out because of the way they sort of hug around there. And you know, I got some room back there so I can get back to the electrical panel and have plenty of room to open it up all the way and not be hitting the wall or anything. But I thought I'd just show you this real quick. So what I did was I used these little scissor jacks here, one on each side, to lift up each side and get these casters off. So it was like a 3-step process. Hopefully I won't have to move this. And then I'm going to drive some lag bolts through those holes, you know, something that size that'll go through there into those, and hopefully that'll make it, you know, stable and give it a stable base. And there's enough room I can still get back up underneath it with those jacks and all if I need to. But I was lowering it down a little bit on each side, getting it down close, just about ready to touch down, and the whole thing just like settled in. I'm like, wow, what in the world? And I didn't know what had happened, and I came over here and looked at this jack. Check this out. See the ears folded up and gave way there? Luckily I was only, you know, maybe a 1/2 inch from setting it down, and it just got it itself down nicely as those bent. But anyway, this whole thing's supposed to weigh 3,000 pounds, although I'm not really checked it, and this would definitely be the heavy end. But I've got a 1-ton jack on each side, so I'm not sure. Maybe it was on a little bit of a, got it in a bind, you know, because it was coming down on an angle. So I'm not sure, but anyway, you can see what we got here. The electrical line that I ran, it's going there. And I'm going to put the same type of 3-phase connector on this saw that goes over there also, so I can disconnect one and plug in the other. This is something here, you know, when I cut metal art, I usually, you know, cut stuff in batches. Like, I mean, it's been a month since I've made any metal art at all. I made a whole bunch of Dallas Cowboy stuff and pretty much sold all of it. There's a little bit of it left. I've got a couple of jobs coming up, but they tend to come in batches, you know, so I would just cut a sheet or two's worth of stuff, get it all cut, come over here, sorry about the fast pan, get it set up to run through the machine and, you know, go from there. So this thing's got air on the back of it, and you see I've got an air filter and air drop that's off the Quincy, so it's got good dry air going to that. Not that this would necessarily need that, but anyway, I took the top off of it, and this is how I actually lifted it. I used one of these axle strap things and almost cut it in two using it on that side, so I used that sleeve here, fire hose sleeve on this side. But I just took the top off of this and used it here because I was getting really close to not having enough clearance to, you know, to go all the way up with it there. So anyway, I just thought I'd give you an update. You guys saw where I was on the electrical. It's now Sunday, and this is kind of what I've got. Let me back away. I've still got this. Normally I keep this backed in here up against the door, so I'll probably just put it back there for now. And so let me just give you a look. So there's a lot of room out in this area, and I pushed all this stuff sort of back this way a little bit, and it's got it a little more cramped over here. But if I need to move these tables that way, I can. They had actually gotten, over time, they had sort of moved their way that way with me beating and banging and pushing on this table here, you know, from this side always. It had sort of worked its way back. So it's a little crowded over here, but you know, generally I keep this table really close to the welder, so you know it's a short reach to weld stuff. And those cabinets there, I put those in a different spot. This table right here used to be up against that wall over there. So anyway, I mean, I'm pretty happy with it, and I've got all this spot right here open for the lathe that I'm going to be getting. Like I said, I sold the saws and I sold the dust collection system, so I'm just turning that money back into other stuff that's more usable. And I definitely need a bigger lathe. I got an opportunity to get a 20-inch lathe. I think it's got a 20 horsepower motor on it as well, so it'll go here and share that same receptacle with a cord style like that to plug in one and disconnect the other. So I was going to run multiple outlets off of this one, just daisy chain them so that I could keep them all plugged in, but I thought, you know what, knowing my luck, I mean, not that it would really matter, all it would do is trip the breaker, but you know, I know it's against code to do that, and probably against code how I'm doing it anyway. But I thought, you know what, it's not that big of a deal to unplug one and plug in another. Not at all. So, and that'll keep me from trying to run two things at once off the same thing. And again,